Okay. There, now the microphone is better positioned. Happy Monday. As I pointed out to you in the written portion of our lessons, the school board has a deadline 2 weeks from today of June the 22nd for final report card marks. That means by next Wednesday, a week and a half from now, I need to have anything you want to put into my hands in order for me to mark, enter, and then write report cards by the end of Friday of that week. I'm pretty sure the report cards are due Monday morning, June the 22nd. Might be that they're not due until the end of the day, but when it comes to school board deadlines, they are always the morning of something. It's just the way that things naturally work. So, a week and a half left, if indeed you want to prep, polish, and finish your grade 12 FSE. And so we've gone over examples of all of the parts of the FSE project. I just want you to look one more time at the overview that you were given, and I want you to understand what's being asked. So, here's the overview information of the television production project. The breakdown of everything that was going to be included in it, the breakdown of the various areas that it covers, thinking and inquiry, communication, application, and a little bit of knowledge. In each section, the breakdown of what is required. So the title page, the project overview, and the table of contents. Then your character sketches, your episode lists, and your casting notes. Then your Season 1, Episode 1 script and your Season 1, Episode 24 script. And one season for every member in your group. Here's the information I wanted to point out that is in your overview that you need to think about as you're completing these portions of the project over the next week and a half. Post-production will consist of a PowerPoint presentation of all of your materials. Your PowerPoint will highlight the budget for your show. You need to jump online and ask the question, okay, how much does John Stamos make per episode when he appears on Fuller House? You need to find out what sort of a salary he commands in order to cast him in your show, like the group example I showed you from last week when he was cast in the TV show Animals, developed by the students. You need to show a understanding of the demographics of your show. What age are you aiming for? Is this a Disney Channel teen or preteen comedy like iCarly? Is this a adult-oriented show like Grey's Anatomy? Is this going to cross the late teen, early college student, young adult category like a show like Community would? You need to think about that. Then you need to think about the delivery method. Is this a show that's going to go on network television, ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox? Is this a show that has more adult themes that needs to go on HBO or AMC, like The Walking Dead and Boardwalk Empire, shows like that? And what time is it going to air? Is this going to be an 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. show? Or is it more a 10 p.m. show later in the evenings? Obviously, your PowerPoint includes your casting along with pictures, and then your paperwork includes your episode lists and your scripts. Again, further down here, all of your work will be graded based on the following attached rubrics, and the rubrics are in your paperwork. There is a paperwork rubric, there is a PowerPoint rubric. Your television series must develop at least 3 intertwined storylines, one personal, one competitive, and one supportive. So I always point to The Big Bang Theory as my example. Most of you have watched it, know the show really well. A personal storyline is anything going on between Sheldon and Amy, right? They met, they dated, they became engaged, they ended up getting married. Sheldon and Amy are an example of a personal storyline. Same with Leonard and Penny, okay? A personal storyline. Then there are supportive storylines, the way that Leonard and Sheldon do support each other, or the way that Raj and Howard support Leonard and Sheldon. But then there also needs to be competitive storylines, those characters who come back every so often in the show in order to make life miserable or make life competitive for your main character. In the case of The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon has numerous competitive storylines. There's a character in the early seasons called Leslie Winkle, who was always one of Sheldon's nemesis. Will Wheaton came along during the early portions of the show to become a competitive Sheldon character. There is Barry Kripke, who is a member of Sheldon's University, who is always in competition with him. And then there are more characters who come along within the show that act as a direct competitor to what Sheldon's end goals were. So, once again, at the bare minimum, at least one personal storyline for your main character, one supportive, and one competitive. Then you need to consider bringing back 3 reoccurring guest stars. I'm talking about a character who comes back once, maybe twice per season, then maybe again in season 2, and they play an important role in pushing the story forward. In the case of The Big Bang Theory, I would consider Sheldon's mother and Leonard's mother to be 2 of those characters who have reoccurring roles that push the story forward. When you're casting your show, please pay attention to the last section here, because you are limited as to what you're allowed to do. When you're casting a TV show, you are not going to have Tom Cruise in it. You are not going to have Will Ferrell in it. These are A-list movie actors who will not have the time to do a television show. You need to follow this outline down here at the bottom. When casting your show, you will need to include at least 5 main characters and 5 supporting characters. Main characters like Penny, Leonard, Sheldon, Raj, Amy, Howard, Bernadette. Okay? Those are the main characters of your show, and you need a minimum of 5. Supporting characters: Stuart from the comic book store, Zach, one of Penny's many boyfriends, Will Wheaton, who comes up in the show on a regular basis. Then there are those reoccurring supporting characters like Leonard's mom, or Penny's parents, or Sheldon's sister. You get the idea. When you're casting, here's your restrictions. Okay? You may have 1 A-list film actor, only 1, and they may only appear in a reoccurring role. So Stephen Hawking is not going to do every episode of The Big Bang Theory. He is going to show up once as a reoccurring character, maybe twice overall. In the case of The Big Bang Theory, A-list actors, there have been a number of actors, like James Earl Jones did an episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon tried to get James Earl Jones to be a guest speaker at the Comic-Con convention Sheldon was trying to arrange when he couldn't get into the regular Comic-Con convention. He couldn't get tickets. So you can only have 1 A-list film actor or actress, and they can only be restricted to a reoccurring role where they might show up once or twice. Then you got to go looking for B-list television actors. And what I mean by that are people who have been famous on television before but are not busy currently in a show. For instance, Jeff and Britta from Community would be perfect examples of B-list television actors. They're currently not doing anything. I believe the actor who plays Jeff, whose name escapes me at the moment, I believe he had an interview talk show, kind of like show. It was even named after him, if I could remember his name. That's the name of the talk show he had. but he's not particularly busy. You know, look him up. Britta, the character who played, or sorry, the actress who played Britta, not particularly busy at the moment. However, the actress who played Annie from Community is exceptionally busy. She's got several shows on the go all at the same time, the biggest one being a Netflix series called Glow, G-L-O-W, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. It's based on a real-life situation where female wrestling became really big on television during the 90s, and it was called the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, or G-L-O-W, Glow. Then you've got to populate your supporting roles with what are called C and D list actors. People who have at some point been an actor on television or in films, but really have dropped off the face of that landscape, and we don't know where they are at the moment. A perfect example from Community is the actor who played Pierce. Pierce was the older gentleman, the older member of the study group, and that actor was Chevy Chase, who was a huge star in the 70s. He started off on the original Saturday Night Live, season 1. Then he became a huge a huge film actor. He had, in fact, he was for a few years the highest paid actor in movies. He was that popular. But then his time came and went, and he obviously did not start getting as many roles as he grew older, and as the world became familiar with him, and you could even say bored with him. And so by the time Community came along, Chevy Chase wasn't doing anything. And so bringing him back onto Community was a great idea by the producers for bringing back this person who was well known and giving him an opportunity to revitalize his career. You need then to find me 3 little known actors, people who we've never heard of. Maybe you know them from something else. An example would be Troy and Abed in Community. Prior to Community, very few people, and I would suggest almost nobody, knew who Danny Pudi was, who played Abed, or knew who Troy was, and that actor, boy, I got Childish Gambino in my head, but I can't remember the actor. Donald Glover. There we go, finally came out. Before Community, very few people knew who Donald Glover was. And I'm talking about mainstream television watchers. Obviously, you know, the Hollywood community may have known who Donald Glover was. His family knew who he was. But I meant regular television viewers. So you've got to discover those little-known actors. And then lastly, you got to bring me in 4 Canadian actors. One of the things about Canadian television that is almost set in stone is that if you would like some free government money to help you start off your show's production, you need to have Canadian content. You need to film in Canada, you need to cast Canadian actors, you need to hire Canadian writers and producers. So you're going to be required to bring in 4 Canadian actors minimum and put them in roles in your television show. For instance, in the TV show Animals that I showed you last week, done by the students in about the mid-2000s, they went and grabbed Kristen Kierick, who is a Canadian actress who is best known for Smallville. Did you ever watch Smallville when you were a kid? Well, she played Lana Lang, Clark's best friend / love interest. And after Smallville, she hadn't done very much until recently. She has a show now on CBC called Body of Evidence. So she is currently back doing a full-time TV show, but she's an example of a Canadian actress who really, after Smallville and between Smallville and Body of Evidence, did not have a whole lot going on, which is why she made for a great choice for this group to cast her in their TV show. So all this information is in the overview. It's all sitting there waiting for you. You know, please access it. It is your best hope at scoring high marks for this project and then raising your overall average as we head towards the end of the semester. Okay? Have yourselves a good Monday. See you tomorrow.